Hello and welcome to this brand new season of Leaders of Tomorrow, the only enabling platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters the most to you, the small business entrepreneur. And in our 8th year, we're taking head on two of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. Tonight on the show, we're talking about entrepreneurship, innovation, skill development and job creation in the era of digital technology and artificial intelligence. I'm in conversation with Ajay Kela. He's the president and CEO of the Wadhwani Foundation. He talks to us about how the foundation is driving large-scale job creation in emerging economies through its unique initiatives. Take a listen to this exclusive sit-down interview. It's such a pleasure having you here joining us in studio, really kicking off our launch week, talking about some of the things that are closest to your heart, talking about why the Wadhwani Foundation is so passionate about some of the areas that you're working in. Before we come to all of that, you have a personal story which is equally fascinating. So I want to ask you what perhaps drew you to the Wadhwani Foundation, what really you were doing in your role prior to joining the foundation.
I've always had this philosophy of the first third of my life was all about building skills so that I could take care of myself first and then my family. And I did that for the first 25 years.
Sure.
The next 25 years I worked primarily in the tech industry, and that helped me take care of actually quite well my kids and my family. And then now I'm probably in the last third of my journey, and it is time to give back. And that's what drew me into going full-time with a nonprofit. Okay.
So you're talking about giving back, and the Wadhwani Foundation is involved in multiple areas, particularly skilling, mentoring, etc. Before we come into some of your specific programs, I really want to understand from you why are you at the foundation, and why is the Wadhwani Foundation really so passionate about some of these causes, whether it's skilling, mentoring, working so closely with SMEs and startups, etc. What perhaps is that big picture that you want to talk to us about?
Our mission, when you start at the very top, is all about job creation. So if there is one God we pray to, is the God of jobs. So we need to actually invent that God. We have Saraswati for wealth. We need a God of jobs. And why jobs? And actually, when we talk about jobs, we also talk about high-value jobs.
Sure.
High value defined as a job that can support a family of 4. So if you look, an aspiration of any human being is to be able to support themselves first and then their family. Unfortunately, today, there is a massive gap between high-value jobs that are available and youth that are aspiring to get those jobs.
So, and this is a global picture, you're saying, not just in India?
This is a global picture. Sure. I'll give you a recent example. I was just about three months ago in South Africa, and I met with a bunch of incarcerated youth just to figure out what's going on in the country. The country has more than 50% youth unemployment. Sure. And a lot of these kids were graduates. So they had gone through this journey of educating themselves, have an aspiration now to support themselves, but aren't getting any jobs. And as a result of which, they were involved in all kinds of activities and got incarcerated. So today, globally, there is a massive problem. So what's going on in the world? There is massive unemployment already in place.
Sure.
B, there was a recent McKinsey report that pointed out somewhere between 400 to 800 million jobs will disappear between now and 2030.
Okay.
And that is a direct cause of technology and advent of AI and automation. Third, countries like India, all of Africa, are also experiencing a massive youth boom.
Sure.
So if you take into account a pretty bad situation to start with, outlook of many jobs disappearing, and massive amount of youth coming into the workforce seeking jobs, we have a disaster in the making globally. So job creation is very critical. So we are a non-profit. We believe a high-value job in a family is very empowering.
Okay.
An individual which has in a family who has something like this, they can buy healthcare, they can buy education, they can take care of everything of the needs of the family. So you not only transform the family,
Sure.
but you transform generations to come.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's why it's all empowering.
And that's why it becomes even more critical, the work that you do. And speaking of that, very briefly, I do want to talk about the specific programs that you have at the Wadhwani Foundation, including Wadhwani Entrepreneur, Wadhwani Advantage, Wadhwani Opportunities. You work closely, AI and funding. Can you run us through that?
Sure. All of our initiatives are targeted around either job creation, and again, high-value job creation, or upskilling people to fulfill those jobs.
Sure.
So that's where the skilling component comes in. So let's talk about some of these initiatives. So Wadhwani Advantage is our newest initiative, and it's also probably the initiative where we believe the largest job creation will happen. And here, where what we do is we target companies that are in the 1 million to 50 million range of revenue in dollar terms. So these are companies that have already a proven business model. They have customers, they have revenue.
Sure.
Many of them have a potential to scale 2x to 10x, but they don't get any help.
Sure.
In fact, in India, there are 1.2 million such companies that that have an employment base of anywhere from 30 to 1,000 employees. These folks cannot afford McKinseys and KPMGs of the world, and neither do those guys come and help them. On the other side of the spectrum are the startups that are getting all the buzz and all the attention. So here, effectively in India and many other emerging economies, there is a gold mine of these guys growing economically as well as adding a lot of jobs.
Sure.
And so that's our focus. One focus is can we bring McKinsey in a box through technology, through building networks, and dramatically reduce the cost of providing consulting services, execution support services
Sure.
to these guys,
Sure.
so they can grow to X, 10X.
Sure. Even as we're talking about the different programs that you have, one thing that we definitely must discuss is the Wadhwani Catalyst and what you want our viewers to know about that.
We are not the only ones with all the great ideas,
Sure.
or even the best execution capabilities. There are many other organizations around the world that are also doing similar things in different parts of the world. So Wadhwani Catalyst is a program where we want to be able to help some of these companies that have already a proven model, and maybe they are in one part of the country or one part of the world, and help them scale into multiple countries or
Sure.
organizations. So what we bring there into the table are three things. We can, of course, bring grants and money to help them scale. We have built several technology solutions
Sure.
that we can provide to them that will accelerate their scale. And the third thing is we already today are present in 20 emerging economies with local teams. So if they are successful, say in South Africa, and want to take their program into North Africa or even to Latin America,
Sure.
we have teams that can help accelerate
that. I want to talk specifically about skilling and in depth, in fact, about skilling. And the picture is not looking good in India. And these are figures, the most recent figures that I've picked up. The shortfall in India is very curious, if I can call it that, because when you look at the GDP, for instance, between 1991 for 10 years, it's quadrupled. That being said, more and more companies are, of course, being set up, more and more jobs are being created, so more and more engineers are coming out of colleges and they're being hired. Where, though, perhaps it's not making sense is that data shows that 40% of IT professionals in India need to upskill themselves. 48% of employers are saying they're finding it difficult to hire people, or to find people, rather, with the right skill sets. What's going to change? Where is the shortfall happening? How do you really view that?
As you know, business and industry is changing rapidly.
Sure.
So technologies are getting transformed. The skills that are required to work are dramatically increasing.
Sure.
But academia has not kept up. The academia model of sage on the stage, publishing textbooks to teach kids is a very dated model. I believe the textbook is dead. We just have not buried it.
Okay.
Just imagine. So suppose I'm going to try and teach you cybersecurity.
Sure.
Within cybersecurity, things are changing almost, 30 days, 60 days. So if I were to publish a textbook and train a faculty to teach that, by the time I publish a textbook and distribute it, it's already outdated. So in this day and age, the shelf life of any academic program, any college degree is no more than 3 to 5 years. What is required for us to do is to train our youth, train our employees to learn. The good news is with the advent of internet and mobile phones and videos that you can watch, the amount of skilling that is available out there, the amount of knowledge that is easily consumable in a format that is easily digestible. Youth can easily transform themselves because of all the resources that are available to them. I think the academia has to rapidly transform into a digital delivery learning platform as opposed to the old school textbook platform. And close that gap. They are slow to do that, and as a result, what you're seeing today is booming of online learning. And from the Silicon Valley startups that are focused on edtech. And that is probably going to actually, just like what you saw Amazon do to the retail stores, there's a huge potential for these online tech solution doing to universities around the world.
All right, I'm going to take a very quick break on that note, but much more of that very interesting conversation coming up on the other side. Just stay tuned. Welcome back. With us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, bringing you highlights of a conversation with the Wadhwani Foundation, talking the big picture on innovation and skilling. I want to play devil's advocate for a moment, and I'm being backed up by data, where data showing that because of the lack of skills available for certain industries, and you were talking cybersecurity, data shows that cybersecurity analysts and experts, for instance, the good ones, are 25 to 30% higher paid than their peers who perhaps are doing similar roles, etc., in the tech industry. My question is for a small entrepreneur who says, yes, I need to have these roles in my company, yes, I need to have these functions, but can't really afford those costs. Then what's the way out? I
mean, sure, they can't afford someone full-time, but they can't also not afford to have someone take care of their data, especially is their customer data and the customer trusts them. And if you violate that trust, you can be in deep trouble. The good news is you can hire managed service providers. So you don't need a full-time person. You can hire service providers where you have a dedicated server. Again, as there's something I would highly encourage entrepreneurs to do is to have a very focused, dedicated server rather than the shared server. You may be paying a little bit higher, but you're preserving the security of the data, and hire them also to manage their data security until you grow to a stage where you can afford a full-time person.
Sure, absolutely. So, and you're saying that don't ignore these skill sets. They're crucial. If you don't have the funding for it, even as you're growing, even as you're upskilling your employees using technology, etc., look at what else you can do. I want to talk about the fact that the Wadhwani Foundation, I understand, works very closely with the corporates, governments, investors, students, educational institutes, etc., multiple stakeholders as far as the entrepreneurial ecosystem is concerned across the world. How do you create a synergy?
The reason we work with so many stakeholders is we are a very large foundation. And our mission is to make an impact at a national level
Sure.
in every country we go. So
Okay.
today we are in 20 countries. There's no point, when India is adding, say, 1 million people a month to the workforce. And we as a foundation, if we impacted 100,000, 10,000,
Sure.
it's a drop in the ocean.
Sure.
Can we make an impact at least 10% of the demand for the country,
Sure.
we as a foundation?
Sure.
And that's our target. Everywhere we go, we want to make at least a 10% impact to the demand.
Okay.
And that is significant scale. So if
Sure.
you look at India, 1 million people a month, you're talking about 120 million in 10 years.
Sure.
Not all will
Yeah.
seek jobs, 80 million seeking jobs. So 10% of that is 8 million. If we can make an impact to 8 million, that is a significant number. So we cannot do it ourselves. We need to work with partners. So
Sure.
the government comes into play. Give you an example, right? So one of our initiatives is Wadhwani Entrepreneur, where we educate and inspire college students to look at entrepreneurship as an alternative.
Yeah.
So if I go to a single college, I can sign them up and maybe 100 students will sign up. And if I keep on, and of the 100, maybe 5 students will become entrepreneurs.
Sure.
But I can't keep on going to the next college and the next college, because we want to sign up tens of thousands of colleges. India has 40,000 colleges. Can we sign up 10,000 colleges who are teaching entrepreneurship? So working with the government can at one stroke of a pen say, just like English and math is a requirement.
It can be taught.
Let's make entrepreneurship a requirement.
Okay.
And people like us can come in and teach.
Okay.
What we have developed in scaling, going back to 21st century skills that are rapidly changing. So we have developed a curriculum which primarily teaches these kids to learn. So there are things like critical thinking, problem solving, in a largely global economy, English literacy, in a largely tech-driven economy, digital literacy, in a largely economy that is moving towards services, customer centricity. So collectively, all of this we call the 21st century skills.
Sure.
And we piloted with multiple government agencies like NSDC, like the vocational schools in government.
Okay.
And so the Indian government has now adopted this curriculum and is rolling out to 12,000 schools.
Sure.
We piloted with NSDC. They have also now agreed to adopt this curriculum to be rolled out through each of their training providers.
Sure. So we love asking the experts who come on our show whether entrepreneurship can be taught. You've answered that question. So my question to you is, what can be taught? And what qualities do you think an entrepreneur should necessarily perhaps have?
The journey of an entrepreneur and the journey of a successful entrepreneur is a very, very tough journey. I equate it to the journey of someone who's being an Olympian.
Okay.
Nobody gets to become an Olympian unless every day, 6 to 10 hours a day, they are practicing the skill that they are completing.
Sure.
And they do that for many, many years. And that's how they reach there. So tenacity, staying power, can-do attitude, recovering from a fall, dusting it off, and
Sure.
resilience and wanting to go. So those are some inherent skills that are required to start the entrepreneurial journey. But say I have all of those.
Okay.
I'm daring, I can do all these, but I don't know how business operates. I don't know how the business world works.
Yeah.
So imparting me with those skills so that I'm not making the mistakes.
Sure. As we were winding down this conversation, if you had one piece of advice, whether it's from your personal journey or your professional journey for entrepreneurs who are watching this interview, what would you want to tell them?
Don't try to do it alone.
Okay.
Yours is a tough journey. Surround yourself with mentors, with advisors, with service providers.
Sure.
It's a key element of your success. If for nothing else, to just brainstorm your ideas. In this journey, you will need all the help that you can get.
Okay, so my last question then, and let's come back to the work that you do at the Wadhwani Foundation. Anything which is on the cards that's personally exciting you that you can leave our viewers with?
I am actually excited about this gold mine that exists in all emerging economies, which is to do with the small businesses. Okay. Everybody is ignoring them. The larger guys are getting the help from McKinsey, KPMG. The smaller guys, the entrepreneurs that are just starting their journey, helping these guys. And now I'm seeing government focusing on this. In fact, last week I met with a VC who's primarily focusing on this segment. Series B, Series C funding, but traditional entrepreneurs in tier 2, tier 3 cities of India. And that's where you will need thousands of entrepreneurs all around India to create the millions of jobs. And these are the guys that are going to make it happen. So I'm very excited about
Ajay,
about
thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow. Thanks.
Absolutely.
All right, that's our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, here's how you get in touch. Our contact details is coming up in just a moment, and we love hearing from you. So do let us know your feedback, comments, and suggestions. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.